There's a reason you're hearing this right now. Not by accident, not by chance. Something inside you clicked on this because you're exhausted from the weight of worry. You're tired of lying awake at night. You're done with the mental torture of trying to control outcomes. And today, this specific day, God is speaking directly to you. It's time. Time to release the grip. Time to stop strangling your life with anxiety. Time to finally trust. You know what worry really is? It's a prayer for what you don't want. Every time you replay that worst-case scenario in your mind, you're giving your energy to outcomes that haven't happened and probably never will. And in doing so, you're missing the life that's actually unfolding right in front of you. Look at your life right now. Really look at it. How many of the things you worried about last year actually happened? I'm willing to bet that 90% of them never materialized. Yet you spent hours, days, months of your precious life, energy, preparing for events that existed only in your imagination. But here's what did happen while you were worrying. You missed moments. You missed connections. You missed opportunities. You missed the sunset because you were too busy obsessing about tomorrow's meeting. You missed your child's laughter because you were calculating bills in your head. You missed the present moment, the only moment that's actually real, because you were living in a future that doesn't exist. God is speaking to you through your exhaustion, through the heaviness in your chest, through the tension in your shoulders, through the sleepless nights and the racing thoughts. The message isn't subtle anymore. It's screaming at you. This isn't working. This worry, this control, this constant mental gymnastics, it's not protecting you. It's destroying you. And you know this. Deep down, you know this. You've known it for a long time. But you're afraid. You're afraid that if you stop worrying, something terrible will happen. As if your worry is the glue holding your life together. Let me tell you something that will change everything if you really hear it. Your worry has never prevented a single negative outcome. Not one. Every bad thing that's happened in your life happened despite your worry. And every good thing that's happened came through despite your worry. Think about this. When has worry ever solved a problem? When has anxiety ever created a solution? Never. Problems get solved through clear thinking, inspired action, and trust in the process. But worry clouds your judgment. It paralyzes you. It keeps you stuck in mental loops that lead nowhere. You've been conditioned to believe that worry means you care. That if you're not anxious about something, you're irresponsible or naive. This is one of the biggest lies you've ever been told. Caring and worrying are not the same thing. You can care deeply about something and still trust the process. You can be concerned without being consumed. You can be responsible without being tortured by what-ifs. Trust isn't passivity. This is crucial to understand. When God tells you to trust, it doesn't mean sit back and do nothing. It means take inspired action from a place of peace, rather than panicked action from a place of fear. It means do what's yours to do and release what's not. It means show up fully in the present moment instead of being mentally scattered across 1,000 possible futures. You want to know what trust looks like in real life? It looks like a mother who does everything she can for her child and then releases the outcome. It looks like a person who prepares for the job interview and then walks in with peace instead of panic. It looks like someone who makes a decision, commits to it, and stops second-guessing every 5 minutes. Trust is action plus surrender. Effort plus faith. Doing your part and knowing that there's a bigger intelligence at work beyond your limited human perspective, but you've been trying to be God. That's what worry really is. It's your ego trying to play God, trying to control every variable, trying to predict every outcome, trying to manage every detail of a universe that's infinitely complex. And it's exhausting, because it's a job you were never meant to do. You weren't designed to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders. You weren't built to figure everything out. You weren't created to have all the answers before you take the first step. And the fact that you've been trying to do all of this explains why you're so tired, why you're so anxious, why you feel like you're drowning. God is telling you today, let me carry this. Let the universe handle this. Let the intelligence that keeps your heart beating without your conscious effort also guide the unfolding of your life. You don't have to micromanage your existence. You don't have to orchestrate every detail. You don't have to know how it's all going to work out. Your job is simpler than you think. Show up. Be present. Take the next right action. Then release the outcome. That's it. That's the whole formula. Everything else is your ego creating elaborate stories about why this simple approach won't work for you, why your situation is different, why you need to worry, because if you don't, who will? Here's the truth that will set you free. The universe has been managing itself for billions of years without your help. The sun rises without your permission. The seasons change without your control. Your body heals cuts without your instruction. There's an intelligence at work that's far beyond your human comprehension. And this same intelligence is guiding your life, whether you trust it or not. The difference is that when you trust, you flow with it. You dance with life instead of fighting it. You open yourself to possibilities instead of closing yourself off with worry. You become available to receive instead of being so contracted with fear that nothing can get in. Look at what worry has cost you. Really look at it. It's cost you your peace. It's cost you your sleep. It's cost you your presence with the people you love. It's cost you opportunities because you were too afraid to take them. It's cost you your health, yes, your physical health, because chronic worry destroys your immune system, raises your blood pressure, creates inflammation, and ages you faster than time itself. And for what? For the illusion of control? For the false sense that you're somehow preventing disasters by mentally rehearsing them? You've been sacrificing your actual life for an imaginary sense of security that doesn't even exist. God is asking you to wake up from this nightmare. And yes, it is a nightmare you're having while you're awake. You've been living in a horror movie that you're writing, directing, and starring in, and you have the power to turn it off right now. But here's where it gets challenging. To stop worrying and start trusting requires something from you. It requires you to confront the belief system that's been running your life. The belief that you're separate from God. The belief that you're alone in this. The belief that everything depends on you and your limited human efforts. These beliefs are at the root of all your anxiety. When you believe you're separate from the source of all creation, you feel like an orphan in a hostile universe. When you believe you're alone, every problem feels insurmountable. When you believe everything depends solely on you, you carry a burden that breaks your spirit. But what if none of these beliefs are true? What if you're not separate but connected? What if you're not alone but supported by forces you can't see but can definitely feel? What if your job is to do your part while trusting that there's a bigger part being handled by something far greater than your individual will? This is what faith really means. Not blind optimism, not naive positivity, not denying reality. Faith means trusting that there's a larger pattern at work even when you can only see a tiny piece of it. It means believing that the universe is fundamentally supportive even when temporary circumstances seem challenging. It means knowing that you're being guided even when you can't see the path ahead. You've been waiting for proof before you trust. You want guarantees before you let go. You want to see the entire staircase before you take the first step. But that's not how trust works. That's not how faith works. That's not how life works. Trust comes first. Then the evidence follows. You release the grip, and then you discover you're being held. You let go of control, and then you realize there's a greater intelligence orchestrating things far better than you ever could. You surrender the outcome, and then you watch miracles unfold. But you have to go first. You have to take that leap. You have to make the decision to trust even when every fiber of your being wants to worry. Even when your mind is screaming at you that this is dangerous, that you need to stay vigilant, that letting go means giving up. Letting go is not giving up. This distinction is everything. Giving up is resignation. Letting go is trust. Giving up says nothing matters. Letting go says I've done what's mine to do and now I trust the process. Giving up is collapse. Letting go is surrender to a higher power. And this surrender, this trust, it's not a one-time event. It's a moment-by-moment practice. Every time you feel worry creeping in, you have a choice. You can feed it with your attention, or you can recognize it, acknowledge it, and choose trust instead. Every single time that mental loop starts playing, you can interrupt it and say, I'm choosing trust. I'm choosing peace. I'm choosing to know that I'm being guided. This isn't easy at first. Your mind has been running the worry program for so long it's become automatic. Breaking this pattern requires conscious, deliberate effort. It requires you to catch yourself in the act of worrying and make a different choice. Again and again and again. But here's what happens when you do this. You start to notice evidence. You start to see synchronicities. You start to experience moments where things work out in ways you couldn't have orchestrated with all your planning and worrying. You start to feel the support that was always there but you couldn't access because you were too contracted with fear. And gradually, trust becomes easier. Not because life stops presenting challenges, but because you start to see that you're always being guided through them. You start to recognize that what you thought were obstacles were actually redirections. That what you thought were failures were actually lessons. That what you thought were endings were actually beginnings. You begin to understand that worry was never protecting you from anything. It was only protecting you from trust, from surrender, from the peace that comes from knowing you're part of something much larger than yourself, from the freedom that comes from releasing the impossible job of trying to control everything. God is not asking you to be irresponsible, not asking you to ignore reality, not asking you to become passive or complacent. God is asking you to recognize the difference between what's yours to do and what's yours to release. To understand that there's a divine partnership available to you, where you show up with your efforts and trust the universe to handle the rest. Think about your breath right now. You're breathing without thinking about it. Your heart is beating without your management. Your cells are regenerating without your instruction. There's an intelligence running your body that you trust completely without even realizing it. You don't worry about whether your heart will beat or whether your lungs will function. You trust the process completely. God is asking you to extend that same trust to your life, to recognize that the same intelligence managing your body is also managing the unfolding of your circumstances, that you're not steering this ship alone, that there's a captain at the helm who sees far beyond your limited human perspective, but you keep grabbing the wheel. You keep trying to navigate by yourself. You keep refusing the help that's constantly being offered because your ego insists that you have to do it all on your own. And this stubborn independence is the source of your suffering. Real strength isn't about controlling everything. Real strength is about knowing when to act and when to trust, when to effort and when to allow, when to push and when to surrender. The strongest people aren't the ones who never let go. They're the ones who know how to hold on to what matters and release what doesn't. And worry doesn't matter. It never has. It's mental and emotional energy being poured into an abyss that gives nothing back. It's like pouring water into a bucket with no bottom. No matter how much energy you give to worry, it's never enough. It always demands more. It's insatiable. But trust is different. Trust is a well that never runs dry. The more you practice it, the more capacity you have for it. The more you choose it, the more natural it becomes. The more you surrender, the more peace you experience. You want to know what your life looks like on the other side of this decision? On the other side of choosing trust over worry? You sleep through the night. You wake up with energy instead of dread. You're present with the people you love instead of being mentally somewhere else. You make decisions from clarity instead of confusion. You take action from inspiration instead of desperation. You experience life instead of just surviving it. Your relationships improve because you're not bringing your anxiety into every interaction. Your work improves because you're not paralyzed by fear of failure. Your health improves because you're not flooding your system with stress hormones. Your creativity returns because there's finally space for it. Your joy returns because you're not too busy worrying to feel it. This is what God is offering you today. Not someday. Not when circumstances change. Not when you finally have everything figured out. Today. Right now. In this moment, the invitation is being extended. Stop worrying. Start trusting. Let me carry this. Let me guide you. Let me show you what's possible when you finally release the death grip you've had on your life. But you have to accept the invitation. You have to say yes. You have to make the choice. Nobody can do this for you. Not me. Not your friends. Not your family. This is between you and the source of your existence. This is your decision to make. And I want you to understand something important. Making this decision doesn't mean you'll never feel worried again. It doesn't mean anxiety will completely disappear from your life. What it means is that when worry arises, and it will, you'll recognize it for what it is. You'll see it as a signal that you're trying to control something that's not yours to control. And you'll have the tools to return to trust. You'll catch yourself in the worry loop and say, there I go again. trying to be God, trying to manage the universe. Let me come back to trust. Let me remember that I'm supported. Let me release this and focus on what's actually mine to do right now. This is the practice. This is the path. This is what spiritual maturity looks like. Not the absence of fear, but the ability to feel fear and choose trust anyway. Not the elimination of worry, but the wisdom to recognize when it's taking over and the courage to choose differently. You've been asking for signs, for guidance, for help. And here it is. The message couldn't be clearer. God is telling you today, not yesterday, not tomorrow, but today, it's time. Time to stop torturing yourself with worry. Time to stop believing that your anxiety is serving you. Time to stop carrying burdens you were never meant to carry. Think about how much mental energy you've wasted. Actually calculate it. Hours every single day replaying conversations that already happened. Rehearsing ones that might never happen. Creating disaster scenarios in your mind like you're a Hollywood screenwriter of horror films. And for what? What have you gained from all this mental torture? Has a single problem been solved by your worry? Has a single relationship improved because you obsessed about it at 2 a.m? No, the opposite has happened. Your worry has created problems that didn't exist. Your anxiety has damaged relationships that were fine. Your constant need for control has pushed away the very things you were trying to hold on to. You've been your own worst enemy, and you didn't even realize it. And here's something you need to hear. Your worry isn't love. It isn't care. It isn't responsibility. It's fear, dressed up in concerned clothing. You've convinced yourself that worrying about your children means you love them, that stressing about your partner means you care, that obsessing about your job means you're dedicated. But real love doesn't torture itself. Real care doesn't destroy peace. Real dedication doesn't require suffering. You can love without worry. You can care without anxiety. You can be responsible without mental torture. In fact, you can do all these things better when you're not drowning in worry, because worry clouds your judgment. It makes you reactive instead of responsive. It makes you see threats where none exist. It makes you create problems you then have to solve. Watch a child learning to walk. They fall. They get up. They try again. No worry about what others think. No anxiety about failure. No mental rehearsal of every possible way they could fall. Just pure trust in the process. Pure presence in the moment. Pure focus on the next step. And eventually, they walk. They run. They dance. You had that once. That natural trust. That effortless presence. That freedom from the prison of overthinking. But somewhere along the way, you learned to worry. Someone taught you that worry equals love, that anxiety equals intelligence, that if you're not stressed, you're not trying hard enough. And you believed these lies. You internalized them. You made them your operating system. But it's time to upgrade your software. Time to delete the worry program that's been running in the background, draining your battery, slowing down your processing, creating viruses in your system. You need a complete reboot. And that reboot starts with a simple recognition. Worry has never served you. It never will. It's time to uninstall it. Now, your mind is going to resist this. It's going to tell you that worry is necessary, that you need it, that without it you'll become careless or reckless or irresponsible. This is your ego's last-ditch effort to maintain control, because your ego believes it's in charge. It believes it's keeping you safe. It doesn't understand that true safety comes from trust, not control. Your ego is terrified of surrender. It interprets surrender as death, because to the ego, not being in control means annihilation. But you are not your ego. You are the awareness that watches the ego. You are the consciousness that observes the worry. And from that place of awareness, you can choose differently. Every spiritual tradition teaches the same truth in different words. Let go and let God. Surrender to what is. Accept the present moment. Trust the Tao. These aren't just pretty phrases. They're instructions for living. They're maps to peace. They're keys to freedom. But you have to actually use them. You have to take these concepts from the theoretical to the practical. Time to remember who you really are. not a separate, isolated individual struggling alone in a hostile universe, but a beloved child of creation, supported by forces you can't see but can absolutely trust, connected to an intelligence that's been guiding you since before you took your first breath and will continue guiding you long after you take your last. You are not alone in this. You have never been alone in this. The feeling of isolation, of having to figure everything out by yourself, of carrying all the weight, it's an illusion. A very convincing illusion, yes, but an illusion nonetheless. The truth is that you're held, you're guided, you're loved beyond measure, and the universe is conspiring in your favor in ways your human mind cannot comprehend. Every experience you've had, every challenge you've faced, every seeming obstacle, all of it has been shaping you, teaching you, preparing you for what's next. But here's what you're missing. You can't receive guidance when you're too busy giving instructions. You can't hear the whispers of intuition when you're shouting orders at the universe. You can't feel the support when you're pushing everything away with your need to control. Your worry is static, interference, blocking the signal that's always being broadcast to you. Think about a radio. The station is always transmitting. The music is always playing. But if your radio is tuned to the wrong frequency, or if there's interference, you can't hear it. Your worry is the interference. Your need to control is the wrong frequency. And the peace, the guidance, the support you're desperately seeking, it's been there all along. You just couldn't receive it because you were broadcasting on the channel of fear instead of tuning into the frequency of trust. And here's the beautiful thing. You can change the channel right now, this very moment. You don't have to wait for circumstances to change. You don't have to wait until you feel ready. You don't have to earn the right to peace. You just have to make the choice. Tune into trust. Switch off worry. Change the frequency. But you keep saying tomorrow. You keep saying when things settle down. You keep saying once I handle this situation. And tomorrow never comes. Things never settle down. There's always another situation. Because life is situations. Life is change. Life is uncertainty. And you'll never reach a point where everything is figured out and you can finally relax. The relaxation has to come first. The trust has to come first. The peace has to come first. Then you handle situations from that grounded place instead of waiting for situations to resolve before you allow yourself peace. You've got it backwards. And that's why you're suffering. You want to know what trust looks like in the middle of chaos? It looks like taking a deep breath when everything around you is spinning. It looks like saying, I don't know how this will work out, but I trust that it will, when you can't see a solution. It looks like acting from wisdom instead of reacting from panic. It looks like staying present when your mind wants to spiral into catastrophic futures. This is advanced spiritual work. This isn't beginner stuff. This is the deep practice that transforms your entire experience of life. And it's available to you right now. Not because you're special, not because you've earned it, but because it's your birthright. Peace is your natural state. Trust is your original programming. Worry is what you learned. And what was learned can be unlearned. But you have to commit to the unlearning. You have to commit to catching yourself every single time the worry pattern starts. You have to commit to choosing trust even when it feels counterintuitive. You have to commit to this practice like your life depends on it. Because it does. Your quality of life absolutely depends on this choice. Look at the people you know who seem to flow through life with grace, who handle challenges without falling apart, who maintain their peace even in storms. They're not living different lives. They're living the same life from a different state of consciousness. They're tuned into trust. They've learned to release control. They've discovered that surrender isn't weakness. It's the ultimate strength. But you can't see this when you're caught in the worry trap. You can't recognize the guidance when you're too busy being terrified. You can't feel the support when you're so contracted with fear that you've closed yourself off to receiving it. God is asking you to open, to soften, to release the armor of anxiety you've been wearing like it's protection. It's not protection. It's a prison. And you have the key. You've always had the key. The key is trust. Turn it. Use it. Walk out of that prison today. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Not when you feel ready. You'll never feel ready. You'll never have all the answers. You'll never see the entire path. But you can take the next step. You can make the choice right now to trust instead of worry. What would your life look like if you really did this? If you really chose trust in every moment? If you really surrendered the outcomes and focused only on being present and taking inspired action? What would become possible? What opportunities would open up? What peace would flood your being? You already know the answer. You can feel it. That sense of lightness, that feeling of relief, that knowing that this is the way. You've probably experienced glimpses of it before. Moments when you did let go and everything worked out better than you could have imagined. Moments when you stopped trying to control and the perfect solution appeared. Moments when you surrendered and felt held by something greater than yourself. Those weren't accidents. Those weren't flukes. Those were previews of what your life can be like all the time when you choose trust over worry. When you align yourself with the flow of the universe instead of fighting against it. When you remember that you're not here to control everything, you're here to experience, to grow, to love, to create, to contribute. And you can't do any of that fully when you're imprisoned by worry. You can't experience life when you're too anxious to be present. You can't grow when you're too afraid to take risks. You can't love fully when you're too worried about loss. You can't create when you're paralyzed by fear of failure. You can't contribute your gifts when you're too busy trying to manage outcomes. God is calling you home. Home to yourself. Home to peace. Home to trust. Home to the knowing that you're exactly where you need to be, learning exactly what you need to learn, becoming exactly who you're meant to become. And that this process, this journey is unfolding perfectly even when it doesn't look like what you planned. Your plans are so small compared to what the universe has in store for you. Your worry is trying to protect a tiny vision when God is offering you an expansive one. Your control is clutching a pebble when you're being offered a mountain. Let go of the pebble. Stop worrying about the pebble. Trust that what's coming is far greater than what you're clinging to. Trust that you're being led somewhere beautiful, even when the path seems unclear. Trust that every step, even the difficult ones, is taking you exactly where you need to go. This is your moment. This is your time. This is your invitation. Stop worrying. Start trusting. Choose peace over panic. Choose faith over fear. Choose surrender over struggle. Choose to know that you're held, guided, and loved beyond measure. The life you've been longing for, the peace you've been seeking, it's not on the other side of having everything figured out. It's not waiting for you at the end of some future accomplishment. It's available right now, in this moment, through the simple but profound choice to trust instead of worry. God is speaking to you today. Are you listening? Are you ready? Are you willing to finally put down the burden and walk free? The decision is yours. The power is yours. The peace is yours. And the choice you make right now in this very moment will echo through every remaining day of your life. Not tomorrow's choice, not next week's intention, this moment, this breath, this sacred now. Your worry never protected you, but your trust will set you free.